Welcome to the Week Ahead Economic Calendar. Bob Mason from FX Empire joining us today. Tell us, Bob, what are the most important events for Forex traders next week?
Busy week ahead for the global financial markets for the US dollar. Wholesale inflation and retail sales figures in the first half of the week following last week's consumer inflation figures. Obviously, retail sales figures will be particularly important, consumption key. In the second half of the week, jobless claims, Philly Fed manufacturing PMI and service and manufacturing PMI numbers, prelim numbers for December in focus. Expect jobless claims and the service sector PMIs to be key. Main event of the week, however, FOMC monetary policy decision and the all-important press conference and FOMC economic projections. Faster tapering expected, but what does that mean for interest rates? So that will be the main area of focus. For the euro, also a busy week. Private sector PMI numbers will be key, along with German business sentiment figures. On Thursday, however, the ECB is in action with final monetary policy decision of the year. Will ECB President Lagarde stand by the view of transitory or join Fed Chair Powell on a shift in sentiment on inflation? For the pound, payment counts in the early part of the week. Then we've got inflation figures and private sector PMI numbers. Expect inflation figures and the private sector PMIs to be key. On Thursday, the Bank of England is also in action with their monetary policy decision. Will there be any more dissent to point to a near-term rate hike?
And what are the main events for the commodity currencies? Do we look at the inflation figures again? Business and consumers' confidence?
For the commodity currencies, quite a week ahead. For the loonie, inflation figures are the only key stats in the week. Those are due out on Wednesday. Plenty of interest. Obviously, inflation in the market's pet topic. Obviously, then we have crude oil inventories and market risk sentiment to also influence. On the Aussie dollar, we've got business and consumer confidence figures in the early part of the week. More importantly, however, in the second half of the week, employment figures, that remains key for the RBA. For the Kiwi dollar, third quarter GDP numbers that will draw plenty of interest for the markets, with business confidence figures wrapping things up later in the week.
And what about the Asian markets? And what are the events that traders got to focus on next week?
For the Japanese yen, it's a busy week ahead. So early in the week, we've got the Tankan survey numbers for the fourth quarter, large manufacturing and large non-manufacturing index numbers, the key stats there. Focus will then shift to trade data ahead of the Bank of Japan monetary policy decision at the end of the week. No one's expecting any moves by the BOJ, but there has been some recent optimism, so that will be an area of interest. For the Chinese yuan, economic data out of China includes fixed asset investment, industrial production, retail sales and unemployment figures. Obviously, we will be looking at industrial production, retail sales and unemployment as the key areas of focus.
Any risks regarding the world's geopolitics and pandemic?
On the geopolitical risk front, nothing new to consider, so just need to monitor the chatter from the usual suspects. COVID-19 remains a key driver, however, so need to really keep an eye on the news wires, particularly from the US and other countries that are doing testing to test vaccine efficacy against the new Omicron strain.
Thank you, Bob. As always, a pleasure talking to you. Traders, please keep watching this series of Forex Week Ahead with our top expert in the field, Bob Mason from FX Empire.